Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you guys are doing well. My name is Mishti, and on today's video this has been something I have been really looking forward to making, and it's something that is pretty close to my heart because in today's video I have a list of books for you that you can read to perfectly, encapsulate what it means to be a 20 something year old in today's time and in today's generation. I feel like as a generation we have put so much pressure on ourselves and on our on this particular decade that we have to achieve so much. We have to do this, we have to make our careers, we have to maintain healthy social relationships, etc. And yeah, so this is a very important video to me because I've been really looking forward, and I personally love just consuming books that sort of validate, not validate, but sort of make me feel less alone about what I'm going through. And yeah, so also I saw this one video, which I'm gonna attach after I'm done speaking, and you guys should definitely check that video out. And I feel like that is probably the most accurate video I've seen about what it feels like to be in your 20s. And yeah, so if you want to feel a little less alone in your journey, I think these books would be a really good companion. So I'm going to attach the video now and then I'll move on to the book recommendations.
In your 20s, you should shut the fuck up. Because I've been told I should buy a house, get a mortgage, see the world, try all the career paths, live in a van, live in a barge, live in Australia, but be careful of the bugs, but then you can't leave London. That's everyone's dream. You should write, do yoga, try boxing, join a run club, start a new hobby. How about pottery? You should be thinking of getting engaged. No, actually stay single and focus on yourself. Wait, you need to date more people to know what you want, but then save yourself for the one. Actually, no, date no one. You should have boiled your relationships down to 3 close friends by now. No, wait, you should have 50 acquaintances from all around the world and learn at least one of their languages. Are you trading? Are you
Because our 20s are full of such like a huge number of relationships, whether they're platonic, whether they're romantic, whether they end up in heartbreak. And even if they might end up in heartbreak, they also just sort of leave a huge impact on you, which is why right off the bat I want to recommend Everything I Know About Love. And you can just think of this memoir as like an elder sister guide to friendships, relationships, and it is just so funny and relatable. I mean, there are parts that did not feel as relatable to me, but it's still so relatable and so funny, and it just feels like a huge warm hug enveloped as a book, and it truly changed the trajectory of my life. And I really, really, really recommend this book more than I recommend probably any other book. I really recommend this book. Then, next on my list is Normal People by Sally Rooney. This is my all-time favorite book, and I know I also said that about Everything I Know About Love, but this is also my favorite book ever. And if somebody asks me what my favorite book is, this is what I tell them. And yeah, this is not like your normal love story, as you might think from the name, because it is definitely not normal in the sense that it's not a romance book. It's more of a love story, and yeah, it's actually as real as it gets. And Connell and Marianne's relationship is so like it is just painful and real, and it's gonna make you sad, but it truly wonderfully talks about what it means to actually have and sustain a relationship. It's a beautiful exploration of how class dynamics play into relationships. And yeah, Normal People is my favorite book. That's all I have to say. I truly, truly, truly love that book so much. I love the characters to death. That is probably the book I have reread the most. The next up is Good Material by Dolly Alderton, and this is such a raw and honest portrayal of breakup and heartbreak, but through a man's perspective. And we don't usually see, heartbreak written through a man's perspective and what the men are going through, but this does that, and it does it so well. I'm sorry about the traffic yet again, but it does it so well. And this is so, if you've ever struggled to move on from somebody, this is gonna really resonate with you. And towards the end, we come across Jen's perspective, which I think is really, really important to actually understand Andy and Jen, both of them went through. And yeah, I saw a review on Goodreads which said men will do anything but go to therapy, and I'm so sorry for laughing about it, but it's just so funny. And yeah, next up on my list is Open Water by Caleb Nelson, and this is such a poetic book about love, race, identity, and it's a beautiful love story, and it provides insights into race, masculinity, and what it means to be what it means to live in a world where you're just seen as like a black body, and how it's just so vulnerable. And yeah, it's a really 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 important and really powerful and poetic book, and how when you're in love it can almost be so freeing and so like stifling at the same time. So it's a really good book and you should definitely check it out. Then we have Stay True, a very deep and personal memoir about friendship, loss, growing up, and about moving through a world when you're trying to find your own identity, find what the world needs, and if you even belong in the world. And if you've ever lost someone who has truly shaped your life, I think this book is definitely gonna stay with you forever. So yeah. Another common feeling about being in your 20s is just constantly thinking, what am I even doing with my life? Am I on the right path? What if I make the wrong decision? What if I end up on the wrong path? What if that is not what I want from my life? What if So it's basically just a series of what ifs. And the next few books are really gonna, sort of encapsulate that vibe for you. Okay, so right off the bat, for this particular feeling, I want to recommend The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. And I know it's sad, I know it's a little traumatizing, but it's also such a beautiful book that explores mental health, ambition, and the struggle of, sort of feeling out of place in the world and you feel like an outsider. And yeah, so if I have to convince you to read this book with just three words, it has to be the fig tree analogy. Because okay, so I'm a little ashamed to like admit it, but I really just wanted to read the fig tree analogy, which is I read the whole book, and I'm so glad I did. So this next book is for all of my philosophy lovers, or if anyone just really wants to get a head start into Albert Camus' work. The next book I want to recommend is The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus. And this book, you know how, okay, so I mean, let me tell it to you in this way. When you're in your 20s, it's just a constant like cycle of trying, failing, and then you try again, and then you almost sometimes fail again. So it's just an endless cycle of that, and it's almost like you're pushing up a boulder that just wants to fall back down. And yeah, if you've ever felt like you're in an existential crisis about work, about life in general, or yeah, so I think this book would really really change your perspective and you should definitely check it out. Next up is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfek. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong, but yeah, okay, so I've already recommended this book in a I think I recommended it in my previous video. But okay, so just imagine what if you could sleep through all of your problems, because that's what I want to do. I also want to sleep through and hibernate through all of my problems and escape society, because society is difficult to deal with. And yeah, so our protagonist, she does this escaping, she does this hibernation through the help of prescription medicines and probably one of the worst psychiatrists in the world. And the psychiatrist is probably the worst psychiatrist ever written in the history of literature, because I truly 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 despise that psychiatrist. And yeah, it's a very beautiful exploration of privilege, isolation, and it really presents a very stark critique of the capitalist world we live in, because some of us truly cannot afford a week as a break, let alone a whole year. So next up on my list is Either or by Elif Batuman, if I'm not wrong. I'm so sorry for saying that wrong. If I'm saying that wrong, I'm really really sorry. But okay, so our 20s almost often feel like we are living in contradiction, because sometimes we feel, oh, we can just take on anything in the world. We feel so smart, we feel so intelligent, but at the same time, we also feel like a baby. And I saw this Tumblr post a few days ago where I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like your 20s are when you feel you have everything in the bag, but at the same time you also feel like like you're just growing up and learning what the world is, and that's so true. So either or, it captures the intellectual and emotional chaos through Celine, and she's a college student who tries to make sense of life, love, and literature by applying really, really grand philosophical thoughts and ideas into her own life experiences, which can be messy, which can be like our own experiences. And this is the perfect book for anyone who's like overanalyzed a text, overanalyzed a relationship, or sometimes your whole entire existence. So this is for all of my overanalyzers. I just saw a lizard on the floor and I'm trying to scare it away. I just hope it doesn't jump at me. Like, sort of emotion I wanted to talk about is how success in our 20s isn't just about like getting your dream career, getting a dream job in just one go. It's a really long process of trial and error. There's a crow just making that noise. I don't know what to. Anyways, so yeah, these books will sort of give you some insights. So yeah, I have the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, and this book is gonna change your perspective just through two words, which are let them. Because within a few pages you'll realize that there is so much that other people do that you cannot control, and the more you try to control what those people are doing, the more you'll end up struggling about that, which is, I think, it's a really smart way to look at it. The basic idea is to just truly let people do whatever they want, and you need to focus on yourself. And I don't usually read non-fiction because I am a true fiction girly at like my core. I would never ever ever want to read non-fiction if I had a choice, but this was just something I saw on a video and I thought, oh, that actually seems pretty interesting and might help me in not like self-sabotaging my life. So I picked that up. The next book I think everybody should read is Tuesdays with Mori by Mitch Albom, and this is just one of those books that you just need to read, and you at least need to read this book once in your life because it's that life changing, and it's sort of like you have your own personal life coach who's just guiding you and presenting you his insights from what they've learned in the whole huge wide world. I'm just gonna let the traffic pass for a second. Sorry. The next book on my list is The Healing Season of Pottery by Yon Somin. I hope that's right. And okay. Okay, so I am recording this on the holy evening, which is why people are just like chirpy. And anyways, that's not the point. So this is The Healing Season of Pottery by Yon Somin, and sometimes healing is not just about grand gestures, and this book is your sign to just sort of slow down, and it's about the importance of hobbies and how slowing down in such a fast-paced world really can change it can actually really change your mood. And this is why I feel so strongly about having hobbies as an adult, because you actually do need that time for yourself. And this book really shows how creativity, patience, and the really, really small things, the small joys, can give you so much meaning in your life. So, this next segment is so almost all of us can agree that our life is sometimes so chaotic that we just can't understand where to begin and how to like unknot one problem and then to move on to the next one. Also, I was just playing around with nail paints, and this one barely showed, and this one just like came out so ugly, and now I ran out of nail polish removers, so I can't remove that. Anyways, so the first up on that list is Just Kids by Patti Smith, and this is such a beautiful book. It's so poetic and like artistic, and this is a memoir about Patti Smith's youth and her deep bond with a photographer. I don't remember his name, which I'm so sorry about, and their struggle as struggling artists and how it, like, all the sacrifices they made in the name of their art, and all of the times they gave everything else up just to honor their art, just to honor what they believed in, what they believed they were capable of doing. And if you and it will actually make you feel what it means to be young, lost and alive, which I think is a pretty great combination. So, and it's also just a really well written book. The next book is Happy Hour by Marlo Granados. Yeah, I think that's anyway. So this is a really, fun, stylish novel about just two best friends living their life. It's the classic no plot, just vibes book, and it's so chaotic. And those two best friends are living their lives, they're having fun, and they're almost also living their broke lives, because we don't have adult money in our 20s. We only have that when we finally get a job, and having adult money is so fun, but sometimes you just have to live your broke life. So the next up on my list is Anxious People by Frederick Backman, and this is the only book by Frederick Backman that I've read, and I really want to read more of his work, but I haven't got around to reading it, so maybe this is also my sign. But anyways, about Anxious People, so this is a very, feel good type of a book about a failed bank robbery, human connection, and how also we're just all figuring things out as we go. And it's also about the enduring power of friendship, forgiveness, hope, and how so many things end up saving us, even in times that feel like they're just like surrounded in anxiety. So, even in the most anxious of times, some things do end up saving us. So, Anxious People is my first, and it definitely would not be my last Frederick Backman book. For this next segment, I wanted to make a list of books that just sort of make you feel less alone, and they are a pretty good companion for when you're feeling lonely, and they just remind you that you're actually not alone. And loneliness is probably one of the most universal feelings that our generation and also like almost everybody feels. So the first book on my list is Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. I did not know about Michelle Zauner as a singer before I read her book, and yeah, so she is a lead singer, I think, in the band called Japanese Breakfast. If I'm not wrong, if I could be wrong, I'll just check and let you guys know. But Crying in H Mart is Michelle Zauner's memoir about grief, identity, and the quiet ways that love actually shows up. And sometimes it's not just the verbal saying that, oh, I love you. It's actually shown through some little things that happen all throughout. A very beautiful exploration of how food is related to memory, and she recounts her sort of complicated relationship with her mother and the struggle of growing up as a mixed race person, and how cooking Korean food sort of became a way for her to hold back onto her past and to feel connected to her mother who is no longer there. So it's just a really powerful book, and it actually made me sort of hungry for Korean food. And I don't eat Korean food. I mean, I've never tried, I would love to, but it made me feel hungry and also made me sad. So that's your, if that's up your palate. Okay. The next up on my list is Convenience Store Women by Sayaka Murata. And so, you know how in our 20s we just feel like everybody has so many expectations from us. It can be our parents, it can be our siblings, it can be teachers, it can be colleagues, it can be our managers. Everybody just seems to have so many expectations from us. And what if it's just too much for somebody to deal with? And what if the one place they feel like they fit in is not acceptable to society? So a protagonist, Keiko, she works at the convenience store. She's worked there for almost 18 years. She's worked there her whole life, and still, almost everybody she knows keeps on questioning her and starts to pressure her to find a real job, to get married, and to have to have children. And Keiko doesn't want to leave that convenience store because that's finally the one place where she belongs. So this is such a sharp, funny exploration of social norms and how people are treated who don't end up conforming to those norms, and just sort of the simplicity of existing as you want and not being governed by other people. So next up on my list is Alice Oseman's Solitaire. I am an Alice Oseman stan. I love the Heartstopper series. I am currently also reading Loveless by Alice Oseman, and I'm really enjoying that book. So this book, Solitaire, is a book about feeling disconnected from the world you are living in, and also not just not quite exactly fitting in. So the protagonist is in this book is a quiet, cynical teenager who almost feels like an outsider almost all the time, and then she meets another person who also feels equally misunderstood and not a part of the mainstream society. And it's just about finding those people who make you feel like you belong and they make you feel understood and that you're actually not alone. And yeah, just like the enduring power of socializing when it's with the right people. Next up on my list is Heaven by Mieko Kawakami, and this is a brutal and profound book about two teenagers who have been bullied and they find each other not through like some bond but actually through their shared pain of being bullied. And this raises such important questions about what it means to suffer such cruel instances and how maybe that suffering isn't, it doesn't have some profound meaning but it's actually just cruel on the perpetrator's part. So this is such a raw and deeply unsettling book and it forces you to confront some really uncomfortable things. And it's, even if it does raise some uncomfortable question and it is a uncomfortable and difficult read, it's still a very important one. Next up on my list is White Nights by Dostoevsky, and this book has taken booktok by a storm. This tiny little thing has taken booktok by a storm. This is a beautiful book about yearning, about unrequited love, and how it means to actually meet someone where that love might not be reciprocated, and it's just wonderful. And it's, yeah, it is, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna let you go into this blind because it's just wonderful. It's a really, really good. I saved the best for the last. So that's my list of 20 books that would be a great addition to your I wanna read these books in my 20s TBR. And this is, of course, just my list, and these are just recommendations. You are free to read whatever you want and in whichever sequence you would like to. But if you do end up reading any of my recommendations or any of these books on the list, please do let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you in my next video. Do let me know if you actually read any of these books before, and I'd love to have a conversation with you about these books in the comments. So leave a comment, please do like this video if you want, and please subscribe to stay tuned for all of the fun stuff I have planned. And thank you for watching, and I hope these videos, I hope these books actually help you make sense of uh what your 20s, of the roller coaster that your 20s are. Anyway, so thank you for watching and I hope to see you in my next video, and bye.